Beowulf, translated by Lesslie Hall. Book 35, Reminiscences Continued, Beowulf's Last Battle. He seeks then his chamber, singeth a woe-song one for the other. All too extensive seemed homesteads and plains. So the helm of the Weders, mindful of Heribald, heart-sorrow carried, stirred with emotion, nowise was able to wreak his ruin on the ruthless destroyer. He was unable to follow the warrior with hatred, with deeds that were direful, though dear he not held him. Then, pressed by the pang this pain occasioned him, he gave up glee. Godlight elected, he left to his sons, as the man that is rich does, his land and fortress, when from life he departed. Then was crime and hostility twixt Swedes and Geatmen. O'er wide-stretching water warring was mutual, burdensome hatred when Hrethel had perished, and on Genthiau's offspring were active and valiant, wished not to hold to peace over sea. But round Hreosna bore often accomplished cruelest massacre. This my kinsman avenged, the feud and fury, as 'tis found on inquiry, though one of them paid it with forfeit of life-joys, with price that was hard. The struggle became then fatal to Hæthcyn, lord of the Geatmen. Then I heard that at morning one brother the other with edges of irons egged on to murder, whereon Genthiau maketh onset to Eofor, the helmet crashed, the hoary-haired Skilfing sword-smitten fell. His hand then remembered feud-hate sufficient, refused not the death-blow. The gems that he gave me, with jewel-bright sword, I quited in conquest, as occasion was offered. Land he allowed me, life-joy at homestead, manor to live on. Little he needed from Gepids or Danes, or in Sweden to look for trooper less true, with treasure to buy him. 'Mong foot soldiers ever in front I would hie me, alone in the vanguard, and evermore gladly warfare shall wage, while this weapon endureth, that late and early often did serve me, when I proved before heroes the slayer of Drakhren, knight of the Hugmen. He by no means was suffered to the king of the Frisians to carry the jewels, the breast decoration, but the banner possessor bowed in the battle, brave-mooded atheling. No weapon was slayer, but war-grapple broke then the surge of his spirit, his body destroying. Now shall weapon's edge make war for the treasure, and hand and firm sword. Beowulf spake then, boast words uttered, the latest occasion. I braved in my youth days battles unnumbered, still am I willing the struggle to look for, fame deeds perform, folk warden prudent. If the hateful despoiler forth from his cavern seeketh me out. Each of the heroes, helm-bearer sturdy, he thereupon greeted, beloved co-liegeman, his last salutation. No brand would I bear, no blade for the dragon, wist I away my word-boast accomplish. Else with the monster, as with Grendel I did it, but fire in the battle hot I expect there, furious flame-burning. So I fixed on my body target and war-mail. The ward of the barrow I'll not flee from a foot-length the foeman uncanny. At the wall 'twill befall us as fate decreeth, each one's creator. I am eager in spirit, with the winged war hero to away with all boasting. Bide on the barrow with Bernies protected, earls in armour, which of us two may better bear his disaster when the battle is over? 'Tis no matter of yours, and man cannot do it, but me and me only, to measure his strength with the monster of malice, might deeds to accomplish. I with prowess shall gain the gold or the battle. Direful death-woe will drag off your ruler. The mighty champion rose by his shield then, brave under helmet. In battle mail went he 'neath steep-rising stone cliffs, the strength he relied on of one man alone, no work for a coward. Then he saw by the wall who a great many battles had lived through, most worthy, when foot troops collided, stone arches standing, stout-hearted champion saw a brook from the barrow bubbling out thenceward. The flood of the fountain was fuming with war flame, not nigh to the horde, for season the briefest could he brave, without burning the abyss that was yawning. The drake was so fiery. The prince of the Weders caused then that words came from his bosom, so fierce was his fury. The firm-hearted shouted, his battle-clear voice came in resounding 'neath the grey-coloured stone. Stirred was his hatred. The horde war distinguished the speech of a man. Time was no longer to look out for friendship. The breath of the monster issued forth first, vapory war sweat, out of the stone cave. The earth re-echoed. The earl 'neath the barrow lifted his shield, lord of the Geatmen, toward the terrible stranger. The ring-twisted creature's heart was then ready to seek for a struggle. The excellent battle-king first brandished his weapon, the ancient heirloom of edges unblunted. To the death-planners twain was the terror from other. The lord of the troopers intrepidly stood then 'gainst his high-rising shield, when the dragon coiled him quickly together, in corslet he bided. He went then in blazes, bending and striding, hasting him forward. His life and body the targe well protected, for time period shorter than wish demanded for the well-renowned leader, where he then for the first day was forced to be victor, famous in battle, as fate had not willed it. The lord of the Geatmen uplifted his hand then, smiting the fire drake with sword that was precious. That bright on the bone the blade edge did weaken, bit more feebly than his folk leader needed, burdened with bale griefs. Then the barrow protector, where the sword blow had fallen, was fierce in his spirit, flinging his fires, flamings of battle gleamed then afar. The gold friend of Weders boasted no conquests. His battle-sword failed him, naked in conflict, as by no means it ought to, long trusty weapon. 'Twas no slight undertaking that Ecgtheow's famous offspring would leave the Drake cavern's bottom. He must live in some region other than this, by the will of the dragon, as each one of earthmen existence must forfeit. 'Twas early thereafter the excellent warriors met with each other. Anew and afresh the horde-ward took heart, gasps heaved then his bosom. Sorrow he suffered encircled with fire who the people erst governed. His companions by no means were banded about him, barons of the princes, with valorous spirit, but they sped to the forest seeking for safety. The soul-deeps of one were ruffled by care. Kin-love can never aught in him waver who well doth consider. Book 36. Wiglaf the Trusty, Beowulf is deserted by friends and by sword. The son of Weohstan was Wiglaf entitled, shield warrior precious, prince of the Skilflings, Aelfhere's kinsman. He saw his dear liege lord enduring the heat neath the helmet and visor. Then he minded the holding that erst he had given him. The Waegmunding's warriors' wealth-blessed homestead, each of the folkrights his father had wielded. He was hot for the battle, his hand seized the target, the yellow bark shield. He unsheathed his old weapon, which was known among earthmen as the relic of Eanmund, Othaire's offspring, whom, exiled and friendless, Weohstan did slay with sword edge in battle, and carried his kinsman the clear-shining helmet, the ring-made byrnie, the old giant weapon that Onela gave him, his boon fellow's armour, ready war trappings. He the feud did not mention, though he'd fatally smitten the son of his brother. Many a half-year held he the treasures, the bill and the byrnie, till his bairn became able, like his father before him, fame deeds to accomplish. Then he gave him 'mong Geatmen a goodly array of weeds for his warfare. He went from life then old on his journey. 'Twas the earliest time then that the youthful champion might charge in the battle, aiding his liege lord. His spirit was dauntless, nor did kinsman's bequest quail at the battle. This the dragon discovered on their coming together. Wiglaf uttered many a right saying, said to his fellows, sad was his spirit. I remember the time when, tasting the mead cup, we promised in the hall the Lord of us all, who gave us these ring treasures, that this battle equipment, swords and helmets, we'd certainly quite him, should need of such aid ever befall him. In the war band he chose us for this journey spontaneously, stirred us to glory, and gave me these jewels, since he held and esteemed us trustworthy spearmen, hardy helm-bearers. Though this hero achievement our Lord intended alone to accomplish, ward of his people, for most of achievements, doings audacious, he did among earth folk. The day is now come when the ruler of earthmen needeth the vigour of valiant heroes. Let us wend towards him, the war prince to succour, while the heat yet rageth, horrible firefight. God wot in me, 'tis mickle the liefer the blaze should embrace my body and eat it with my treasure bestower. Meseemeth not proper to bear our battle shields back to our country, lest first we are able to fell and destroy the long-hating foeman, to defend the life of the prince of the Weders. Well do I know 'tisn't earned by his exploits, he only of Geatmen sorrow should suffer. Sink in the battle, brand and helmet to us both shall be common, shield cover, byrnie. Through the bale smoke he stalked then, went under helmet to the help of his chieftain, briefly discoursing. Beowulf dear, perform thou all fully, as thou formerly saidst, in thy youthful years, that while yet thou livest thou would let thine honour not ever be lessened. Thy life thou shalt save, mighty in actions, atheling undaunted, with all of thy vigour I'll give thee assistance. The dragon came raging, wild-mooded stranger, when these words had been uttered. 'Twas the second occasion, seeking his enemies, men that were hated, with hot gleaming fire waves, with blaze billows burning the board to its edges. The fight armor failed then to furnish assistance to the youthful spear hero, but the young aged stripling quickly advanced 'neath his kinsman's war target, since his own had been ground in the grip of the fire. Then the warrior king was careful of glory. He soundly smote with the sword for the battle that had stood in the head by hatred driven. Naegling was shivered, the old and iron-made brand of Beowulf in battle deceived him. 'Twas denied him that edges of irons were able to help in the battle. The hand was too mighty which every weapon, as I heard on inquiry, outstruck in its stroke. When to struggle he carried the wonderful war-sword, it waxed him no better. Then the people despoiler, third of his onsets, fierce-raging fire-drake, of feud-hate was mindful, charged on the strong one when chance was afforded. Heated and war-grim, seized on his neck with teeth that were bitter, he bloody did wax with soul-gore seething. Sword-blood in waves boiled,